The views and opinions of presenters and guests on LCR Liverpool Community Radio are not necessarily representative of Liverpool Community Radio, LCR, its directors, or their funders.
Want to join the radio revolution? Then contact LCR Liverpool Community Radio on info@l-c-r.co.uk.
Welcome to Liverpool Community Radio. You're listening to Danny Leslie's Vinyl Revival. You're going to be hearing some of the greatest tunes to ever be put on vinyl and being introduced to the coolest record store owners in Liverpool. You're listening to Liverpool Community Radio with Danny Leslie. Today I'm presenting the one-off show, Welcome to the Vinyl Revival. The first time I remember seeing vinyl is when I was a kid. I remember getting dragged round my dad's mates' houses or even going round to a mate's house, and I'd always see the Stone Roses album. I always found it a bit odd that all these houses own this item. I still remember it looking really out of place. No matter what room it was in, you've got this bright Jackson Pollock's artwork in these basic mahogany front rooms. And this is when CDs were really popular too. So as a kid, I couldn't understand why were people choosing to have a bigger version of a CD if it looked so out of place. And I think it says a lot about the power of vinyl that I knew the Stone Roses artwork was inspired by Jackson Pollock's. I reckon you can tell from my accent I didn't go to art school, and I think that shows the impact and culture that vinyl brings with it. Like I was saying before, I only grew up knowing CDs, and I remember being a bit gutted when my dad got an iPod, because it means he wanted to get rid of all his CDs. And I even saw these compact discs as personalising your home and saying something about your character. And there's a lot of people from the vinyl generation who wouldn't dream of saying CDs have that kind of power and impact. It was in the mid-80s when we were told CD would soon make vinyl a thing of the past. However, there's been an increase in vinyl sales in the UK and America over recent years. In 2014, vinyl sales reached a 20-year high, with sales surpassing 1 million copies. Secondly, in November, Pink Floyd's The Endless River became the fastest-selling vinyl since 1997. And more importantly, Northern artists are prominently featuring in numerous vinyl charts. It was in 2013 when AM by the Arctic Monkeys was the best-selling album on vinyl format. Also this year, you've got Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds, who are topping the charts with the album Chasing Yesterday and the single The Ballad of Mighty Eye. Gallagher's chart-topping single also features Johnny Marr. He's on the outro as the song fades out, and he released a cover of Depeche Mode's I Feel You for World Record Store Day. In the show, I'm going to be speaking to the man in charge of the station, Stephen Ferriger, and Tim Doyle from the Liverpool band Shakedown Street. We'll be chatting about what vinyl meant to Tim and Steve growing up in Liverpool and what the coolest records were and what the coolest record stores were. We'll be discussing our favourite albums, singles, labels and artwork whilst hearing some chart-topping tunes from the Northwest. We're going to be questioning if it's the cultural climate in which technology is becoming smaller and homogenised which has produced a demand for sizeable vinyl which reaffirms an individual's identity. We're also going to be discussing the role of World Record Store Day and discussing its growing popularity. Now, for the first track, it's Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds with Lock All the Doors.
The views and opinions of presenters and guests on LCR Liverpool Community Radio are not necessarily representative of Liverpool Community Radio, LCR, its directors, or their funders.
The new sound of the city, LCR, Liverpool Community Radio, www.l-c-r.co.uk.
Welcome to Liverpool Community Radio. You're listening to Danny Leslie's Vinyl Revival. You're going to be hearing some of the greatest tunes to ever be put on vinyl and being introduced to the coolest record store owners in Liverpool. Welcome back to Liverpool Community Radio. It's Danny Leslie's Vinyl Revival. That was Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds with Lock All the Doors. That track was actually recently performed on James Corden's Late Late Show, which is his new talk show in America. So if any want to see that, that's available on YouTube. With that track as well, it's actually 20 odd years old. Gallagher wrote it before he got a record deal, and you might have heard the chorus before as well, because he used it when he worked with the dance act, the Chemical Brothers. But it's only like 23 years later or something like that Gallagher's completed the song, stuck a few verses either side of that chorus, and stuck it on his new album Chasing Yesterday. And that's off the album that's topping the vinyl charts at the minute as well. Over the last few years, I've noticed so much more effort going into artist vinyl. Back in 1978, John Cooper Clarke, who's like Manchester punk poet laureate, he worked with Martin Hannett, who was a producer for Joy Division, New Order and the Happy Mondays. And together, Hannett and John Cooper Clarke, they created the half-spoken word, half-melodic album Gimmicks. This was the first album where I've ever seen anybody mess about with the shape of vinyl. Because Gimmicks is a 7-inch album and your record player's meant to hold a 12-inch as well, they got to change the shape a bit and elongate certain bits of the shapes. So they binned off this normal round shape and they changed it into the shape of a plectrum, and they actually made it bright orange as well. And it's this transformation what really catches your eye, and it makes it a nice little collector's item. Johnny Clarke used to support all the punk bands as well, so like the Buzzcocks in the 70s. So this Gimmicks album, it's now like a seminal artefact in the history of punk. And on World Record Store Day in April it was, my dad managed to get the re-release of the album Gimmicks, and I remember bringing up my mate and bragging to him saying, oh yeah, I've got that triangle vinyl we used to go on about. And it turns out his dad literally had a bit of a spring clean of his house, and it turns out he had the original pressing of it. So he kind of outdid me on that one a little bit there. In recent years, we've seen a return as well to artists putting this kind of detail in. You've got Kanye West, who recently worked with Paul McCartney. He chose the Yeezus vinyl to be white. And you've got Jack White, he's been doing things with vinyl I didn't even know were possible. With his EP Lazaretto, the first track's in the centre of the disc, and the record works its way out. Also on the B-side of the vinyl, depending where you drop the needle on track 1, it influences whether you hear an electric or acoustic intro to the opening track. Now, I don't even know how that works, and I think that's part of the magic with vinyl. You can see everything that's going on. Like in the words of the Stone Roses, you literally see the needle hit the groove, and it produces a sound. And I think it confronts you, and it's quite mesmerising. Whereas with a CD, it's tucked away in a nice little modern box of technology, and you've just got to trust it's doing its thing. And I think that means you end up paying less attention to what's going on with it, and less attention to the content. And later on this year, we've got David Bowie as well, who's re-releasing the hit single Let's Dance, which is off the best-selling album of the same name, which was produced by Nile Rodgers. And it's this album which is now being released on a bright yellow vinyl with a green centre. And Morris is doing the same with his solo album Your Arsenal. That's going to be released on gold vinyl next month, I think. And it's good to see artists are recognising this second wave of interest in vinyl and altering their output accordingly. Moving away from the northern artist of my last track, I think I've got to play a bit of Paul Weller now. Weller's also entered the vinyl charts in recent years with the singles Wake Up the Nation and Tears to Cry. Seeing as we've just been lumped with a Tory government, I thought it'd be a bit of a crime if we didn't stick a bit of Weller on. The first vinyl I remember seeing knocking about my house was the Jam Compact Snap. The cover's still imprinted in my memory. I can still see the peacoat and the scarf Weller's wearing on the cover. And it's this clothing that's synonymous with mod culture. So after seeing this as a kid, you're grasping an understanding of what mod culture is. And all of a sudden you're watching Quadrophenia. And I think this is where vinyl's really important. It starts to open your eyes to different cultures. So any kid who's seeing this vinyl is soon going to be getting a little history lesson, because no doubt he'll be watching Quadrophenia the next night. And I think this is why vinyl's so important. It's clearly got educational and cultural value. Anyway, rant over now. I'm going to play a bit of Going Underground. Here's the jam.
Some people might say my life is in a rut. I'm quite happy with what I got. People might say that I should strive for more, but I'm so happy I can see the fine things happening here today. A show of strength with your boys brigade. And I'm so happy and you're so kind. You want more money, of course I don't mind. To buy nuclear textbooks for atomic rhymes, and the public gets what the public wants. But I want nothing society got. I'm going underground. What if the brass bands play up and start to pound? Going underground. What if the boys all sing, or if the boys all shout for tomorrow? Some people might get some pleasure out to hate me. I've enough already on my plate. People might need some tension to relax me. I'm too busy dodging between the facts. You see, here's what you get. You've made your bed, you better lie in it. You choose your leaders and place your trust. As it lies, wash you down and their promises rust. Using killing machines with paper, rockets and guns. And the public wants what the public gets. But I don't get what the society wants. I'm going underground. All of the brass bands play up, we start to pound. Going underground. So let the boys all sing, or let the boys all shout for tomorrow. La 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 la. La 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 la. We're talking till my head explodes. I turn on the news and my body froze. Spraying sheep from my TV screen. But this boy shout, like this boy scream. Going underground. Going underground. Going underground. I'm going underground. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Sheep on my TV screen. But this boy shout, but this boy scream. Going underground. While the brass bands play up, we start to pound. Going underground. Let the boys all sing, or let the boys all shout. Going underground. Let the brass bands play up, we go bow, bow, bow. Going underground. So let the boys all sing, or let the boys all shout for tomorrow.
The new sound of the city, LCR, Liverpool Community Radio, www.l-c-r.co.uk.
The views and opinions of presenters and guests on LCR Liverpool Community Radio are not necessarily representative of Liverpool Community Radio, LCR, its directors, or their funders.
Welcome to Liverpool Community Radio. You're listening to Danny Leslie's Vinyl Revival. You're going to be hearing some of the greatest tunes to ever be put on vinyl and being introduced to the coolest record store owners in Liverpool. You're listening to Liverpool Community Radio with Danny Leslie. Welcome back to the Vinyl Revival. That was the jam with Going Underground. I thought I'd play that just to bring a bit of attention to how good Weller's lyrics are. I think because he sings so fast, it can be difficult to understand what he's saying. I mean, when you look at lyrics like, what you see is what you get, you've made your bed, you better lie in it, you choose your leaders and place your trust, as the lies wash you down and the promises rust, you'll see the kidney machines replaced by rockets and guns. I think it's a little bit mad that Weller was in his teens when the first Jam album, In the City, was released. Yet he's not the type of person who's gone mad with fame. He's actually gone in the opposite direction and become more in touch with normal issues and still managed to maintain so much cultural awareness. I was at a party a few weeks back and a town called Malice came on, and there was some French geezer next to me who were singing along to these lyrics about buying beer and drinking beer like from the Co-op. And I was a bit like taken aback by it, really. And, you know, you expect something about drinking wine from a vineyard. I mean, I was really taken aback, and I think this kind of thing's dying out. It seems in popular music nowadays you've got to appeal to an American audience to get a deal. So this means it's harder to include these quirky British references in your tunes. I mean, you only need to look at the Brit Awards this year in contrast with the 90s. Everything was sober, clean and commercial. For every act, you had Ant and Dec repeating how well Ed Sheeran and Sam Smith were received in America. It seemed the whole event was just an advert, proving to American record executives that British artists won't kick up a fuss. But it's working. I mean, I read recently something like an eighth of albums sold in the US were like by British artists. So this clean approach, it is working. But saying that, if you do want to see him going off the rails a little bit, there is a picture online, allegedly, of Ed Sheeran looking a little bit coked up. So that's a nice little bit of contrast if you need that. Anyway, with the Weller lyrics, it's worth questioning if that generation did actually produce better lyrics, if these vinyl generations, the lyrics were better, because, I mean, when you bought a record, then you was unwittingly buying poetry. You've got the lyrics so clear within the record. And I mean, today, apart from the Arctic Monkeys and the Cortinas, it's hard to see if we're getting the same quality of lyrics. I mean, I was recently having this discussion with a university lecturer in Liverpool, whether your regular Arctic Monkeys fan would be as politically and socially aware as your Jam fan in the 1970s. I mean, obviously, both audience know all the words, and both artists are definitely political. But I was saying that your Jam fan in the 70s, is a million times more politically aware. I mean, let's not forget, this is when, like, Weller was fronting Red Wedge with Billy Bragg. I know this was a movement which was, well, openly organising music and comedy tours in the hope of promoting left-wing politics. They was even talking about socialism. It seems like, I don't know, if you want to do something like the Red Wedge movement today and you started talking about socialism within your first few albums, you'd get dropped by a record company pretty quick. Continuing with the idea of quality lyrics, an artist which caught my eye from a World Record Store Day was Dave Gedge from the Wedding Present, and he was in Cinerama as well. This is going to be the next tune I'll play for you. Gedge's band in 2002 was Cinerama, and they brought an album out called Torino. And that was the one that was released on World Record Store Day. And it was going for like over 20 quid. And like, it made me think people aren't buying this because it's a bit of nostalgia, because it was released a decade ago. It's obviously, well, it says something about your vinyl collector. It's obviously the lyrics in Gedge's work that make the album marketable at 20 quid. So next up, I'm going to play for you Quick Before It Melts from Cinerama. Again, you only need to listen to the opening two lines to really recognise it's a quality British album. The first two are, just listen out from, when you said I've got nothing on beneath this dress, that was such great flirting. I usually find such candidness sort of disconcerting. I mean, you don't get more nervous, awkward, quirky Britishness than that. Anyway, here's Cinerama. Enjoy.
When you said I've got nothing on beneath this dress, that was such great flirting. I usually find such candidness sort of disconcerting. But you said I don't wear underwear 'cause it leaves a stride. People sniff, do you think I care? They're usually not my time. And soon we're reeling from the beer that we keep buying. You ask me what I'm doing here, and I start lying. You're wondering what is on my mind. Is it a one-night stand? You laugh and say, baby, I'm not blind. You squeeze my hand. But please, let's be quick before it melts.
My name is Steve Maudsley, and I listen to The Big Lunch only on LCR, Liverpool Community Radio, www.l-c-r.co.uk.
The new sound of the city, LCR, Liverpool Community Radio, www.l-c-r.co.uk.
Welcome to Liverpool Community Radio. You're listening to Danny Leslie's Vinyl Revival. You're going to be hearing some of the greatest tunes to ever be put on vinyl and being introduced to the coolest record store owners in Liverpool. Well, welcome back to Liverpool Community Radio. That was Cinerama with Quick Before It Melts. I'm shortly going to be introducing my two guests, Steve and Tim. First of all, just give you a bit of context about World Record Store Day. It began in 2007 when over 700 independent record stores came together to celebrate culture. It is worth mentioning all these record stores were in North America, but in typical American fashion, like the World Series, the event achieved global status. However, after the first American World Record Store Day, typically, but thankfully in this case, us lot soon followed. With the day, artists often contribute to the day by releasing limited edition one-off tracks, covers, re-releases. In some occasion, record stores often have artists in to meet and greet and to DJ and all stuff like that. But anyway, now coming in to talk about the role of vinyl in Liverpool, please welcome into the studio, it's LCR's very own Stephen Ferriger and Tim Doyle from the Liverpool band Shakedown Street. How are we doing, boys? You all right?
Hello there.
Yeah, we're okay, I think.
Yeah,
are we okay?
Yeah, we're grand.
Yeah, we are okay.
Good stuff. You look all right.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering what was the vinyl when you was growing up? What was of most interest? What was everyone buying in Liverpool?
Well, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Actually, we were talking about Virgin Records. I think it was the first shop they ever opened was actually on Bold Street. It's Maggie May's, Maggie May's Cafe.
Yeah.
And they used to have a downstairs used to be painted black, matte black, with beanbags and headphones, and upstairs is where you got served. So there was all racks of records and that, and there was a big underground progressive scene then, really, because we had a couple of venues that don't exist anymore. I think a place called the Stadium, which was a boxing and wrestling stadium, atop Ty Barn Street, which used to smell of liniment. It was
patchouli oil.
Yeah. It was a faint mixture of sweat, liniment, and patchouli oil.
That's all.
And wooden seats, and all the major bands used to play there then, because it was something like 3,000 seats. So it was the biggest venue, and plus the state of the place, people didn't mind if it was covered in sick and
I think Hawkwind's Space Ritual was recorded there, or part of it.
And so we used to always see bands then. It was always amazingly cheap, and sometimes you think your memory's playing tricks on you, but I've seen tickets, and we're talking 60-70 pence to go and see world class bands.
Deep Purple,
50p,
and Smell Sick,
and Smell Sick,
so 70p for that, really.
No, it was a bargain.
Absolute bargain. Well, for me, I had two older brothers, and they weren't really into any kind of progressive music, but what they were into was Tamla Motown and soul. So we always had kind of copies of the Four Tops LPs around the house, the Temptations and the Supremes, and just a few Beatles singles, but mostly it was a background in soul music, and that was just always there.
Motown Chartbusters, the one with the silver cover.
Everyone had them. And me and my sister used to abuse these records on our little record player, which I've still got, actually, still holding together. But we used to play them at different speeds and stuff, and turn them backwards and stuff. But they were just always there, so...
And that's how Pinky and Perky started.
Well, I never realised that the Four Tops were actually black until much, much later on, because I'd seen them for years and years, and it wasn't an issue. It was just, they were just people, they were just performers. There was no issue when you're a kid. You see these people, you just accept them as what they are. There was no racism or anything like that.
So that is mental, and especially when you look at American artists, every decade, so you've got Motown, disco, Jacko after that, and now you've got rap. All the biggest American artists are black, and then you still it was only last night I was seeing on the news about these shootings in America and stuff. It's just a massive contradiction, isn't it?
They were lucky really to have their picture on the cover of the albums, because in the early days they used to have like pictures of white people on them, and they were on the back cover, so you never actually saw who they were.
That's
but by that time, they were on the front cover. We just accepted things.
Like, how old was you as well when you started buying an album, and what was your first vinyl you bought?
Well, I think I was about 15 or 16, because it was, even though they were ridiculously cheap, it was still, it was out of our sort of price range. So you say, well, and the other thing as well is having something to play them on. My sister who's older than me as well. She was married, so she'd have a record player around the house. So I'd borrow stuff off mates and take it around there. But one day, my dad decided to lash out and went down to TJ Hughes and bought a radiogram. And I can still remember that radiogram, because I took it to pieces and bought a speaker and put another speaker across the other end of the room, so we got a proper stereo. Because I used to have to sit in front of it to get stereo. I did the first album I actually physically went into a shop to buy was in Virgin on Bowl Street, and I think it was Roxy Music's first album. Now I did wear that out, which is something you don't do with CDs. Actually, several albums that I had during the 70s and 80s, they actually physically wore out, and they became unplayable even on the terrible equipment I used to use.
Even the clicks were part of the tune.
Yeah. Well, I'm still like that. If I listen to a piece of music now, there was a click in it. I'm expecting it.
You're expecting the click.
I'm like Pavlov's vinyl dog, aren't I?
I think for me, the first one I bought with my own money there was a little record shop in Old Swan, which is now Max Spielman's.
Right.
I can't remember the name of it. And it must have been 79, and it was Madness One Step Beyond on single, and the soundtrack to the Life of Brian film by Monty Python. And I can remember the day. I remember getting the two of them.
But you go into record shops when you were a teenager and look at albums that you were going to buy if you got the money.
If you ever got the money.
Yeah, because a few years later, as I said, I think I paid about $175 for the first album I bought. And I think in about a year's time, I had about 10 albums if I was lucky. And I ended up getting a job in the summer of 74, I think it was. And I ended up not needing the money. I was basically trying to get a job to get enough money to go to college, because I wasn't going to get a grant. And the grant came through. So I ended up with about 400 quid, which is like 4,000 quid.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of money in them days.
So my first stint of heavy buying, this is like, the first album was the gateway drug. This is the hard stuff. I used to nip out at dinner time and buy all the albums that wanted. That was on Hardman Street, I think it was. That's not there anymore. It's called Phoenix Records. That was wasn't there. It was only there for a couple of years. So all these things that you'd lusted after, you'd go and buy them. So it ended up with sort of quite a vast collection.
I'm nipping into backtracks for Led Zeppelin 1, then Led Zeppelin 2, then 3, then 4, and so on. So you got like instantly a collection.
Yeah.
Straight away.
Yeah.
With you saying then, Tim, that the first one you bought was Madness One Step Beyond, so obviously that's heavily influenced by ska music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is that how you got into reggae?
I would say so. Yeah, it would be the year of the revival mods and the two-tone era that really brought it into the. But what they were listening to was the original Scarf tunes. So naturally, as like an inquisitive person, I wanted to know what they were listening to, as well as their music, but found that the originals were, for me, better than what the stuff they were doing, and that was the entry into that kind of music.
Yeah, I'm like that. I think not as obscure music because Oasis have sold like 60 million records or whatever, but I mean, I was the same. I loved the Beatles first, and then I loved the Smiths, and I loved the Jam, and that was what I got into quite young. Yeah. And then when you watch Noel Gallagher interviews, and he's saying, "Oh, and I like the Smiths and stuff like that," so it was like I related to him. I felt almost like I was his age.
Yeah, you backtrack and see what their influences were, and then go and listen to that. If it's good enough for them, it's got to be good for you.
It can't be too bad, can it?
No.
And was there a scene for that in Liverpool then? A reggae scene at all?
Not a reggae scene, but there was like a mod scene. It was it seemed to be at the time that everybody were mods. I think the local Army and Navy still got absolutely bladdered for Parkers. I think that's probably the extensive. A lot of people, for a few months, they were a mod and they wore a Parker. But the scene still carries on in one way to this day. There are people back then that are still doing the same things like that, like myself. They're still around and they still listen to the same tune, really.
Yes.
In some ways we haven't moved on, but in other ways we have.
Because even in the 80s, when Madness were, you even had Blondie doing kind of reggae,
sure, yeah,
kind of tunes, which which seems a bit mad now, really.
Yeah.
And like, were you saying Phoenix Records then, Tim? What other like stores stand out for you in Liverpool, whether they're here or not?
Oh, Backtracks.
Backtracks.
George from Backtracks, yeah, that was really good stuff. Which is now a Ted Baker store.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, it's Ted Baker.
That's not too bad then, is it? At least it's not a McDonald's, you know what I mean? Ted Baker's still a bit British, it's still a bit mod, that'll be alright.
In Lord Street there was a place called Cut Price Records, which you could get brand new albums, but they were from America. They had the corner cut off them, or they were drilled to know that they were imports.
Right, yeah. The cardboard was always thicker, wasn't
Yeah.
it, on the actual covers?
And you could pick up all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
like Quadrophenia and stuff, but it was an import.
Well, there was Probe as well, because Probe's gone through
course,
several
yeah.
sort of manifestations, really, and it started off up on
Mount Pleasant.
On Mount Pleasant, it's now a small cafe. It used to be a tiny little place. It used to be only one person could go in at a time, really, and the albums used to all be flopping over because they were so tight within the actual.
And it was a meeting place for the punk fraternity. It was a place to hang out, and not necessarily buy stuff, just to be there, to be seen.
Yeah,
people like Pete Burns.
Yeah, it became a lot bigger when it went down to Button Street, didn't it? It became
yeah.
more of a sort of a centre, cultural centre then,
Sure,
really, because of Roger Eagles as well. Because I think he was based in there as well, wasn't he? The guy who used to promote the stuff.
And Jeff Davis with his label Pro Plus. As well.
So it was a growing scene really, and had a profound influence on the local,
And it was around the corner from Eric's as well, which was like the hub.
Yeah, that's massive, that, isn't it? That's a really big Liverpool venue, isn't it?
Sure, yeah. And it's back again.
I just wonder what young people do now, because what's their sort of cultural focus, really.
It's that internet, innit? Internet takes it all away from you.
Yeah.
I was watching a Fred Perry documentary recently, and there was on about what's this next subculture going to be, and it's like, if I'm from Kensington and I'm a mod, I don't need to see mods in Kensington.
No.
Because if I watch a video on YouTube and there's a few mods who've commented underneath,
Sure, yeah.
I've got that sense of collectiveness. So I don't need it with real people.
Which is why you get outbursts in places like Japan of Northern Soul. They're into Northern Soul. They know all the dance moves. They know all the tunes because they've seen it on the internet, and they just copy it, and they copy all the dance moves.
Do they have pies in Japan?
in Japan,
sushi pies.
Sushi pies.
Exact replica of Wigan, yeah.
But it's like a gravity thing. Just thinking about it, when you were in school, you'd be looking for someone who you could. You could dingo with, you could sort of bond with, and it was sometimes it was music. Sometimes not particularly with me, but sporty people would hang around together. It sounds a bit like the high school, high school musical. Sure. This, but it's sort of, you'd look for someone who had some sort of similar taste. Talk to Danny about it. With an album, you'd walk around school with the album under your arm.
And you were someone.
Yeah, and it was like you'd identify someone with that album.
There's also Top of the Pops as well, because that was absolutely huge.
Yeah.
People used to wait for Sunday for the new chart to come out to see you as number one. And
it'd be a great shock if Genesis managed to get on it or something. You know what I mean? Something that was out of the ordinary and wasn't a pop tune. Because occasionally the odd non-pop tune would encroach into
Joe Dolce.
The pops. Yeah.
What's the matter, you?
Yeah.
Quality, yeah. And there was the TFI Friday remake as well, weren't there, recently? And that was, I suppose that had a similar vibe. And that was when vinyl was dying out as well. That's when CDs were popular.
I think that was the last time Friday was compulsory viewing on TV. Not anymore.
Well, telly's not compulsory viewing anyway, is it?
No, not anymore.
What decade do you think was best for artwork and for vinyl? And how do you make a good piece of vinyl, do you think?
Hypnosis, the design for Pink Floyd. They were quite interesting. Roger Dean's work for Yes.
Yeah.
Some of the images on those albums. But, you get the punk ones, and how more iconic can you get than Nevermind the... Can I say that word?
Bollocks, yeah, of course you can.
Nevermind the bollocks. Yeah. Stark punk. Jamie Reid, I think, did that.
That's right,
cover.
Yeah. He was married to, what's her name, wasn't he? Married to Margie Clark.
Yeah.
No, but the Hypnosis, it's a good reminder of that, because it's the... Harvest, it was a Harvest album, wasn't it? Yeah, the whole sort of concept. They didn't have a single style, did they? Because sometimes it'd be photography, sometimes it'd be drawing and things like that. I remember samplers used to get sampler albums, and they're all sitting on a beach with gas masks on.
Picnic, that one.
Yeah, Picnic was a great double sampler album. I think it cost about £1 or $1.50 or something ridiculous.
Oh, do you remember that? You Can All Join In, the Island one, where all the bands were taken in a park like Jethro Tull and Spooky Tooth and Fairport Convention all lumped together, all smiling at the front of this album. It's called You Can All Join In.
That's cool, yeah. And do you two, have you ever done anything on World Record Store Day, or have you ever seen anything going on?
There was one, I think it was about 2-3 years ago. They did a box set of one of my favourite bands called The Action. We collected all the singles together in a box. Unfortunately, it was far too expensive for me to go and buy it, but I could go and look at it.
You could touch it, yeah. That'll do.
One day I'll probably catch up with it, but I like the idea of it all in one place and being promoted as a vinyl thing, which for me now, I still buy vinyl, but not a lot anymore.
Right, yeah. You were saying there's a bit of a snobbery around it as well, weren't you?
Yeah, but mostly on like the DJ scene, there's a thing about vinyl is superior to CD. Personally, I don't care what it's played on, so long as it's there and it's coming out the speakers.
And it's good tunes, yeah.
After a few pints, you can tell whether it's on CD, vinyl, or wax disc. What Steele know about wax discs?
Got a few actually. No, I think the CDs came out in the 80s, and I don't think I bought my first ones until the early 90s, maybe. But it was a bit of a.
You resisted.
I resisted, yeah, and then when I started buying them, I thought that especially, and what you do is you tend to buy the stuff that you got on vinyl, and you realise that the quality, you can hear things that you didn't hear in 1972, but in 1987 you can hear it. This symbol that was hidden in the morass of background noise, and I think that was more to do with the quality of the equipment in the 1970s, not necessarily. So I've got friends who are vinophiles,
right,
where they have the 800 quid turntable and all this type of stuff. I've never gone down that line, but I am actually, I have been on the edge of buying some vinyl in car boot sales recently, and it frightens me really, because I know what'll happen.
I would always say never limit yourself. If you got the wherewithal to play these things, well, then get them. If you like the aesthetic feel of vinyl is that it's large. And
but what does that say? You've had the vinyl, you buy the CD, you sell the vinyl, then you go and buy the vinyl again to replace the CD.
Yeah,
it's like it's just are we getting on? It is on the verge of some sort of mad situation there.
It's almost like insanity. That
it is,
yeah.
I think generally record collectors are insane.
Yeah,
majority.
Well, all collectors are. I think there's a level of sort of insanity. Acquisition disorder. It's called vinyl acquisition disorder.
I need this
fad, and I'm sort of I'm actually in the middle of sort of CD acquisition disorder. So if I go around car boot sales, I will buy any CD that I think has got one track on it that is going to cost less than 45 pence from the ice store. that justifies buying it for 20 pence.
Sure.
And so I've got all these CDs, and I'm thinking I'm never going to play these again.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find out which one of my children I'm going to leave them to.
Or we can give them to a car boot sale for 5p when you're dead.
I'm working on the assumption in the 20 years they're going to be worth something.
Yeah. Worth more than the vinyl, maybe. You never know.
I know that would be strange, wouldn't it, if people started turning back to CD in a few.
No. Well, I have sort of done it, because I did get rid of some of my CDs about 12 years ago when I bought an iPod. I copied it all over, and then what do I need these for? It's taking up so much space, and then sort of sold them. But I got to a point even when I was selling them, because I used to have a market store selling other stuff. I'd have them on the side. I got to a point when I looked in the box one day, I thought, I can't sell them CDs. It was all Frank Zappa stuff and Captain Beefheart stuff. No, I can't sell. I can't sell them at the right price. Someone's going to.
And I bought them off you and sold them on eBay.
Yeah.
And made the profit.
So I've actually only got one vinyl album, and it's a Captain Beefheart album that's signed by Captain Beefheart. I will not get rid of that.
Keep hold
album.
of it.
Again, that's one of the ones that was wore out.
It will accrue in value.
Yeah, so I couldn't play it even if I wanted to. But
it's not Trout Mask, is it?
No, it's unconditionally. No, it's not unconditionally guaranteed. I can't even remember what it's called now.
Bat chain pull out.
No, it's the one where they're all. Looks like an.
Safe as Milk?
No.
Oh.
I'll think of it soon. Don't worry.
It'll come up. Yeah.
It's one of his early ones.
Safe as Milk. That's his most accessible one, though. The rest are all.
Well, this wasn't very accessible, and what happened was there was a load of cheap albums and Woolies in the 70s, 72 pence they were, and they were all deleted stock.
Yeah.
And Captain Beefheart was in the middle, so we went in one day and we bought it, put it on, went, what the? What's this? And then we were in class one day, with the album, and this supply teacher said, "Oh, Captain Beefheart, do you like Captain Beefheart?" We went, yeah, we do, So we ended up having, not talking about English, talking about Captain Beefheart for half an hour.
Is it Mirror Man?
It's the one with Mirror Man on it, but it's not the Mirror Man album.
Ah, okay.
It's the You got me now. But it looks like a parcel on the front of stamps, and you open it up in the gatefold one, and they're all dressed up as different characters. Like one's got a bucket on their head, and and all
I
this.
can see it myself.
Well, I've got that sign by Captain Beefheart and Rocket Morton and Zuto and Rollo.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So, that's going in the coffin.
A legend.
And just before we wrap things up as well, could you tell us a little bit about your band, Tim, Shakedown Street?
Yeah, we're actually influenced by, I don't like to use the word tribute to, but we are a tribute band to an American band called the Grateful Dead, who are celebrating 50 years now since forming in 1965. We kind of play music for deadheads who are fans of the band. And most of our material is taken from their back catalogue, which is absolutely huge. We do other things by Bob Dylan and Neil Young, but most of the material is the Dead's. It's their final concerts under that name, the Grateful Dead, on the 4th, 5th and 6th of July in Soldier Field in Chicago, and all of the band will be going up to FACT to watch the
My name
live
is
concert.
Steve Maudsley. My name is Steve Maudsley.
That was a bit
And I
mental.
listen to the big
Oh,
ones
that's
just me, it's
only
keeping
on
professional,
LCR,
yeah.
That's me,
Liverpool
sorry.
Community Radio, www.l-c-r.co.uk. My name is Steve Maudsley, and I listen to the big lunch.
We will cut this bit out.
Oh, good stuff, good stuff.
No, we won't.
I'm professional, but I kept
Sorry
it
about
then.
that. Did
Can't
one off the
believe
screen
it.
went off and I just the wrong button. Sorry.
Just me keeping it cool around here.
Okay.
Right, yeah, but so yeah, you're inspired by Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. I was saying before, I did a little bit of research on them, and they're influenced by every genre there's ever been. I think
Jazz, blues, soul, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a bit mental. When I was looking at that, I just couldn't get my head around that. I'm sure some of them genres contradicted each other as well.
I mean, you can't pick a typical Grateful Dead era or year because they're all different. They started off as a garage band and turned into a folk, jazz, blues jamming band. You just can't pigeonhole them down. It makes for interesting rehearsals trying to replicate their music because their music is so complicated as well.
Yeah.
And yet at heart it's very, very simple music, very simple chords, but it's the way they're played. I think we do a fairly good job. There are better than us, but we're the only ones that do what we do in the northwest of England. Last year we played in a little festival in Kent called Sol, which stands for Summer of Love, with the remnants of Big Brother and the Holding Company, which was Janis Joplin's backing band, and some members of Country Joe and the Fish, which was really nice. A couple of the old acid rock bands from San Francisco. That was really nice there, and it was a great weekend as well.
Good stuff, yeah. Well, thanks for your time, everyone. That was
I've just remembered the Captain Beefheart album time.
Go on,
Strictly
say it.
personal.
Strictly personal, yeah. There we go. You got it.
Hey, thank you.
Well
thank
done.
you.
Yeah, and with you mentioning, Tim, that on World Record Store, they're one of your favourite bands. They re-released all the albums together. I think from the next tune, it's going to be the Smiths. Johnny Marr did that with the Smiths not too long back. He released them all into one disc, remastered them, and I got it for my dad for his birthday. And he, with the CDs, I think it was Hatful of Hollow that had the same poster in as the vinyl release in the 80s. So, credit to Marr there. I think he tried keeping it pretty loyal to the vinyl and things like that. So for the next tune, we're going to go for the remastered version of The Queen Is Dead, and listen out for the quirky British intro as well, the Dear Old Blighty bit. Nice one.
Between arches, her very lowness with her head in a sling. I'm truly sorry, but it sounds like a wonderful thing. I say, Charles, don't you ever crave to appear on the front of the Daily Mail, the rest in your mother's bridal veil? historical facts, and I was shocked into shame to discover how I'm the 18th pale descendant of some old queen or other. Oh, has the world changed? The river changed. Oh, has the world changed? The river changed. Some 9-year-old chap who peddled drugs, I swear to God, I swear, never even knew what drugs were. To the palace with a sponge and a rusty spanner. She said, I know you and you cannot sing. I said, that's nothing, you should hear me play piano. We can go for a walk where it's quiet and dry and talk about precious things. But when you're tied to your mother's apron, no one talks about castration. About precious things like love and law and poverty. We can go for a walk where it's quiet and dry and talk about precious things. But the rain that flattens my head, all the lies about Maitland and pub who saps your body, and the church who'll snatch your money. The queen is dead, boys, and it's so lonely on a limb. That's the pub that breaks your body, and the church, all they want is your money. The queen is dead, boys, and it's so lonely on a limb.
Welcome to Liverpool Community Radio. You're listening to Danny Leslie's Vinyl Revival. You're going to be hearing some of the greatest tunes to ever be put on vinyl and being introduced to the coolest record store owners in Liverpool. Welcome back to Liverpool Community Radio. You're listening to Danny Leslie and it's the Vinyl Revival show. That was the Smiths with the Queen is Dead. I did want to end on a proper Scouse note, and I was going to play a Cast because I've recently rediscovered their album. What's it called again? All Change. Rediscovered it not too well though, yeah. And I think a lot of albums from that era kind of get overlooked because of how big kind of Blur, Pulp, and Oasis were. But the Cast album All Change is belting. But instead, I've decided to go for the Stone Roses B-side, Mersey Paradise, to end on a Scouse note. Before that, I'd just like to thank my guests, Steve Ferriger and Tim Doyle. Thank you very much for your time, guys.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Nice one. And time for the Stone Roses. Enjoy your weekend, and don't forget about the African Festival on Sefton Park Saturday and Sunday. It's Mersey Paradise.
To